friends, and welcome to another knit and chat video. I've been very much wanting to film another podcast episode, but I just haven't had time to do much, if any, knitting. I've been able to do little bits here and there, but baby Tam takes up a lot of time, as any of you that have babies will know. Like right now he is sleeping, and I'm hoping he will stay napping so I can film this. But yeah, I've just been missing kind of chatting and talking, so I've made myself a cup of tea. This is a caramel rooibos tea from Adagio Teas, and it's one of my very favorite teas, and it is technically still a bit warm for drinking hot tea, but I feel myself getting into the autumn mood, and I have been drinking more teas over the last few days. It's gotten down into the 50s overnight here in Tennessee. That's 50s Fahrenheit. And so it's definitely starting to get much cooler. I think we still have one more week of like proper summer weather coming up. I was looking at the weather forecast, and next week it's supposed to be back up into the 90 degrees, which for like the third week of September is just very warm. But to be fair, that's not uncommon where I live. But yeah, I don't have a specific topic for today's video. I know I've mentioned talking about some pregnancy things, but I'm not really in the mood for that today. I just kind of want to chit-chat. So it is going to be fairly rambly, and yeah, like I said, I don't have a specific topic. I just want to chat. But I do have a project here to work on, a knitting project. This is my Tegna sweater by Caitlin Hunter that I am working on, and I have finished all of the lace portion of it finally. It felt like that just took so long, which makes sense because for the size that I am knitting, it was over, I think it was over 350 stitches. So it was a lot. It was a lot, but I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And I'm in the lovely, mindless stockinette portion of this pattern. And so it's just knitting in the round for several inches. So I figured that I could do that quite easily while I talk to you guys. So how have you all been doing? What have you been up to? What are some things you're really looking forward to as we're transitioning from summer into autumn? Where you are, is it getting nice and cool already, or does it typically take until like October, mid-October before it gets properly cold? We haven't been doing too terribly much. Yeah, like I said, the majority of my time is spent taking care of baby. It's a bit exhausting at this stage. I am so glad and so grateful to be able to be a mom and to be able to stay home, but it does get a bit tiring. And he's at the stage now where I'm able to space out his feedings a little bit more, so I don't have to feed him every 2 hours, and so I'm able to get a little more sleep. But he's also kind of working on figuring out a sleep schedule. So last night he ended up waking up at weird times and not sleeping quite the same. He's kind of starting to develop a proper morning nap, afternoon nap sort of a schedule. He's just kind of doing it all on his own, which is just amazing. And then last night, the last couple of nights, he started going down to bed at like 7:30 in the evenings. And so last night it was so weird. I felt at a loss for like 3 hours until I went to bed because I wasn't on constant demand to take care of him. And it was so weird. I kept telling Micah, my husband, that I was just like, I don't know what to do with myself. I can't relax. I feel on edge, like there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know how to do it. So it'll probably take a few more days before I can just kind of realize that this is more normal for having babies. To have a few hours in the evening when they're asleep where I can just do whatever I want to do, like knitting. Yeah, it's been pretty chill. We did have one of Micah's friends got married over the last weekend, and so we drove up to Wisconsin, which was such a long drive. Poor baby. I'm pretty sure we made him completely hate his car seat because it was a 9-hour drive, but because we were stopping every couple of hours so that I could feed him and to change him and everything, it meant that it was a solid like 11 to 12 hours in the car. And we were all of us exhausted by the time we got home. We were just done, but poor baby, he's just so used to not being confined like that and being held and, you know, talked to and pampered and all those lovely things, snuggled. He does not like his car seat right now. Hopefully we haven't permanently traumatized him and he'll be able to adapt and realize that it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, it was lovely. We got to go up to Wisconsin, and I've never been to Wisconsin before, at least not that I remember. And it was really nice. We got to go to a yarn store up there, which was such a lovely store. The lady that was running it, I didn't catch her name, but she was super sweet, and she was just talking with us the whole time, and she was wearing this beautiful sweater. It looked like she had crocheted it with like a honeybee on the front. It looked so good. And I got a couple things of yarn, and I was actually able to get some Leica knitting needles. They were clearancing them out of the store, so I was able to get some circular knitting needles in some of the smaller sizes for, I think they were like $4 a piece, which is insane. That's like a half to a third of the price that they normally are, so I was thrilled. If I had had a bit more of a budget, I probably would have bought a bunch more of them because there were a bunch of different sizes, but I just got I think a US size 1, 1.5, and 2, and they were completely sold out of the like size 3, 4, and 5, which I think are pretty commonly used sizes. Then they had some that were in the higher up, like thicker size range, but I don't typically use those too much. But yeah, and I got some yarn to make Micah a pair of socks, and I got some yarn to make baby Tam a sweater. So it was really, really lovely. And we got to just kind of hang out and relax. It was kind of busy on the Friday and the Saturday because it was, well, Friday evening and then Saturday, day of the wedding. But baby did great. He slept through the entire ceremony, and he just did such a good job. It was so relieving. I was so worried that it was going to be midway through the ceremony and he was going to start screaming his head off. But he didn't. He did great. He just slept through it. It was lovely. It was exhausting because of so much driving and being away from home with a baby, but it was good. It was our first sort of like, well, it was our first family vacation with a baby, and it was one of our first proper road trips that Mike and I have gone on that hasn't been like involved with family, so we had the flexibility of just being able to do kind of whatever we want, stop wherever we want. We stopped at all these rest areas that were just beautiful. The weather was gorgeous. Coming back it was really rainy, but going there and while we were there, it was just beautiful. It was upper 70s, lower 80s, like just lovely, lovely weather. But yeah, so that's what we did last weekend. There hasn't been too much else going on. I'm looking forward to it being the weekend. It's Friday right now, so it's going to be the weekend and we're going to get to relax and just kind of, I have some errands that I have to run tomorrow. We've had some car trouble, unfortunately, and so we've been down to one car for the last 2 weeks, so that's meant that I haven't been able to run any sort of errands while Mike is at work because he has the car. And so I'm going to go to the library and I have some like Amazon returns to do and things like that. But yeah, it's just kind of been a very chill couple of weeks because I haven't been able to go anywhere. And so it's just a lot of time hanging out with my baby, which is good. I think that I'm ready to be able to do some errands and get out of the house a little bit. But yeah, I've been so already like loving the idea that fall is coming. I watched Darling Dussie's latest YouTube video where she was kind of talking about all the autumnal things, and it just made me so excited and want to work on doing stuff around the house to make it more cozy and fall-like. And there's the one downside with living in a townhouse is that we're renting right now, so we don't own it or anything, and the layout isn't necessarily the most well thought out layout, and so it makes it really difficult to make it a nice, cozy, cottagey type of a home, which I would love to be able to do. That's my dream, to once Micah and I have a house, to be able to make it very cottagey and like vintage farmhouse sort of a thing. I would love to be able to do that, but I've been really trying to stop and think about what things I can do to sort of decorate for fall time and just make it really cozy and lovely. Last year I knitted and crocheted some little pumpkins, and that was super fun. I think I want to try and do a couple more of those. And I feel like it's so nice to be able to kind of romanticize the seasons a little bit, but also just to celebrate the transition of seasons in just simple ways, like making pumpkin bread or pumpkin muffins, or like just switching out the pillowcases for an autumnal cover. Autumnal color of a cover. If you can't tell, I haven't talked to anybody other than the baby all day, so, you know. I was telling Mike I would love to get some sort of a fall-themed looking quilt for our bed. I think that would be so nice. The one that we have now is actually this. This is the pillow sham that's supposed to go with it, but we don't really use it, and so that's what the quilt looks like, and it's very springy, summery. It's absolutely lovely. We got it off of Amazon, and it's done absolutely great. I really like it, but I think I would really love to get some sort of a fall color schemed blanket. I think that would be so nice. And it's just such simple things like that, like switching out your bedding to make it very like fall themed and to really get in the mood for the season. I don't know, it really got me thinking about it after I watched that video, and I started trying to think of things that I could do to celebrate the season change in little ways like that. And especially with the baby, there's only so much that I can do. So if you have any ideas for little tiny, cozy, simple things that you can do around the house to make it, I don't know, very fall-like, I would love to hear about it. I'm actually gonna take a sip of my tea. It's probably cool enough now. Yeah, it's delicious. It's so good. It's just such a faint, like, caramelly flavor. I did not pronounce that right. Anyway, I know one of the things that I want to get better at is lighting candles. I have several candles that I've gotten. I kind of fell out of using candles because, I don't know, like, I've heard and read how bad like the fake scents and the typical candle wax is for you when you use it, which is so sad because I feel like candles are just such a huge part of the whole like hygge vibes, and I discovered the whole like hygge concept a few years ago and just fell in love with it because it's everything that I've tried to and aspired to incorporate into my life, and so I've tried to get like some soy wax candles, something that would be a little bit better but still have just the lovely cozy scents that when you light them, and I have a few of those and I just keep forgetting to light them, which is so unfortunate. I need to do that to kind of cozy up things. Because I know that that's one small way that I can easily sort of celebrate the shift in seasons. Although, to be fair, candles are not just a fall-winter thing. They just feel more appropriate in the fall and winter time. Just looking over there to make sure he's doing okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I've been just itching to be able to do some more knitting and sewing. Oh goodness, I would love to be able to do some sewing. I feel like that's one of the things that has happened that I really didn't expect with postpartum stuff. Is just that with breastfeeding and whatnot, my bust size is so different from what I expected it to be, which I should have expected. That, like, even things that fit while I was pregnant don't fit. And I tried on one of my Deer and Doe my SOTUS dresses yesterday, and I couldn't wear it because when I went to breastfeed, it just pulled on my neck so badly. And I am breastfeeding so many times throughout the day that I just cannot have dresses that are uncomfortable to breastfeed in. They have to be accessible. And so I've got a very, very limited wardrobe, which is so, it's a little frustrating because I feel like I finally feel more in the mood to really try and dress like femininely, and not that I haven't the whole pregnancy and everything, but that I feel a bit more myself, if you will. And I've just realized I thought I'd kind of fallen out of love with the whole 1950s vintage fit and flare sort of a thing. I just didn't seem to be drawn to that as much in my wardrobe, but I've realized that that was just kind of a phase because I have fallen hard for it. I want all of the 1950s nipped in at the waist, fit and flare, poofy skirts, like. And I think that it's probably just because during my pregnancy I so could not do that, that now that I'm on this side of being pregnant, I just want to be able to embrace all of that. So I've really been wanting to get back to sewing because I have a bunch of different fabrics that would make just lovely, lovely dresses, and I just haven't been able to. And I'm just itching to. So I'm very excited for him to be starting to learn how to do these longer naps, and where he's just fine to sleep in his little bed. He doesn't have to be held or anything. Because he will sleep, but previously he just wanted to be held, and I feel like he's kind of getting a little more independence and whatnot now that he's almost 6 weeks old, and he's just kind of totally fine with just being in his bed and sleeping by himself. The one downside is I have some mild to moderate hearing loss, and so it does make me a little on edge or worried because I can't hear him if he starts crying unless I'm like in the room or maybe in the room across the hall. And so we're probably going to get some sort of a super basic level baby monitor just so I can have it with me to hear it. Because, yeah, I can't hear him. I know he's fine, but I want to be able to hear him when he properly wakes up and starts crying and I need to go get him. So we're going to look into doing that. But once we get one of those, I could totally work on sewing projects. And so I'm so excited. I've just been itching to get back to my sewing machine. But yeah, that's kind of what life has been like. It's been nothing too crazy. Fairly simple and cozy things. I've been doing a bit of reading, not too much, but I have been able to, a lot of times when I'm nursing, especially at night, I will have like some sort of knitting podcast or something. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I could totally read books on my iPad at night when I'm in the middle of nursing session. Sometimes it doesn't work because if I'm very, very tired, I will have a difficulty staying awake if I'm reading a book, and so then I'll go and like look on Pinterest or watch a YouTube video. But I've been trying to do a little bit more reading because I've missed that as well. I feel like I've just been so tired and so sleep deprived that sometimes it's hard to be able to get back into reading books. But I've been kind of working on it, trying to find different books that I want to read. if you have any sort of like cozy, wholesome autumnal reads that you would recommend, I would love to hear about it, because I kind of want to do some seasonal reading, if you will, and find just some really sweet, cozy books to read. I just started listening to the Fellowship of the Rings audiobook. I've read the Lord of the Rings series a couple of times, probably more than that, 2 or 3, 4 times or something, and I've watched the movies, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, like who knows how many times, and I'm a huge fan, obviously. Both Mike and I are big fans of the Lord of the Rings, and when we were driving, I was listening to audiobooks, and I can be kind of picky when it comes to listening to audiobooks, because I feel like so many times I'll be like, oh, I don't want to listen to the audiobook because I want to actually read the book, and then I don't end up reading the book, and then I don't end up listening to the audiobook. I don't know, I'm kind of weird about audiobooks, and I'm trying to sort of expand my audiobook catalog. So when we were driving to Wisconsin, we re-listened to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None audiobook, narrated by Dan Stevens, which is a phenomenal audiobook. It is so well done. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times now at this point, and it's so good. So we listened to that, and then on the way back, I listened to, it was a collection of Agatha Christie's short stories. It was kind of funny because they weren't really murder mysteries, they're just short stories, which I didn't realize that she even had. So I was listening to that one, and then I was trying to download, because I was using the Libby app through the library, and so I was trying to find some other options for when we were driving home, because I knew it was going to be a long drive, etc. And I randomly had the thought, oh, I could listen to The Lord of the Rings. That's surely going to be long enough. And so we didn't end up listening to it on the drive home, but I started listening to it yesterday, and I didn't realize it starts in September. And it seemed so serendipitous, and it just made me so happy. It's so ridiculous. But I just started listening to that, and I've been really enjoying it. I want to get a couple of Georgette Heyer audiobooks. I'm going to try and listen to those. And yeah, I've just been trying to do a bit more reading and whatnot. Sometimes I feel like I get a bit too, I don't know, scrolly on YouTube, and I'll just go through and like just keep looking at the homepage and try and find more stuff to watch, and I just kind of want to pull back a little bit on that. I ended up taking a 5-month break from Instagram. I'm back on Instagram now, but I ended up taking a really long break from it because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sort of addicted to it and addicted to constantly checking my phone, especially with a baby coming into the house. It is so important to me to not be so caught up with constantly checking my phone or being on my phone all the time. I want to be able to focus on my baby and not miss things. I will never miss spending time with my children. And I know that it's something that I could regret if I spend too much time on my phone. So I've been trying to very much limit how much I'm actually on there. But yeah, so I wanted to get more into books and things again, and try and do a little bit more with audiobooks. I don't usually like to listen to any audiobook that I haven't read the actual book. That's just kind of a funny way that I am. If I'm going to read a new book, I want to read it, like actually read it, and then I might listen to it on an audiobook. Yeah, anyway, if you have any sort of cozy autumnal reads, I would really like to hear about them. I'm probably going to go back and watch more of Darling Dessie's like autumn reads recommended books, and probably some of I think Miranda Mills has a few autumn books that she recommends, or videos with autumn reads, and so I'm going to go back and watch those and see if there's anything that I can find at the library that looks interesting. Oh, it's so good. I'll try not to say that every time I take a sip. But yeah, so I've been trying to do that, and with these longer naps, it looks like I'm going to be able to get some more knitting time in, which I'm very excited about. I've been working on a test knit for Hannah of Hannah G Knits, and it's this really adorable little colorwork sweater for baby Tam. And it's my first time doing proper colorwork, and I will say it's not the most relaxing knit, and I think that a lot of that is just because it's a very, very new technique to me, and I'm so worried that I'm going to make the floats too tight and my tension's going to be wrong and the sweater's not going to fit. And so it just kind of, once I get past the colorwork chart portion of it, I think I'll enjoy it a lot more. I definitely tend to prefer either simple mindless knits or knits with like just some sort of like a texture. I love, 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 love textured knits with like cables or just a texture stitch on it. Oh, it's my favorite. Which there are a couple of patterns coming out that I am so excited for. I cannot wait until they come out. One of them is the cargo sweater by Rebecca of the Creavea podcast. I tried to test knit it. Unfortunately, I didn't get in on the test knit list, which made me so sad because I wanted to test knit it so badly. It's such a beautiful, beautiful sweater design, and it's coming out in a couple of weeks, and I cannot wait. I'm definitely going to be purchasing that pattern and probably trying to cast it on very soon. So I'm very excited about that one. I'm going to be keeping an eye out because I'm hoping that I can get in on one of her other design test knits. She has the Kathy Cardi that she hasn't worked on that one in a while, but it's beautiful. I love it. And then I think she's starting a new one. She just had a test knit for the Kerr sweater? Kerr sweater? I think it was Kerr. I don't remember. That just came out today, but that one is a color work, and based off of how I'm doing with the color work for this little baby sweater, I think I need to practice color work a little bit more before I sign up for any sort of color work, like full-size, adult-sized color work sweater test knits, just because I'm so much slower at it. And a lot of that is because I'm just trying to be super careful to make sure that the floats are long enough and they'll stretch far enough and all of that. So I'm not going to try and sign up for that test knit, unfortunately. I really, really want to, but I need to be realistic. Yes, I'm really excited about that. And then Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl has the Pippin sweater that is coming out soon. Again, I tried to test knit it, but I didn't get in. It's okay. I think she's going to be doing the Pippin cardigan very soon, and I'm definitely going to try and test knit that one. But it's just it's a very simple, like, textured sweater pattern, and I've just realized that that's where that's the type of knitting that brings me the most joy, if you will. It's just something that's kind of a somewhat, it's a balance between mindless and interesting textured knits. Like, that is what I love to work on. And so I'm super excited for both of those sweaters to be coming out. I think the Pippin sweater is supposed to be released sometime in August, or not August, October. August is come and gone. It is done with. Yes, I'm really, really looking forward to both of those. And then I did a bunch of yarn dyeing a few weeks ago, and I dyed up some sweaters quantities of yarn because I have a lot of yarn in my stash, but I didn't have any like proper sweaters quantities. It was all like singular or 2 skeins of yarn, which just isn't enough to do anything with. And so I dyed up a bunch of yarn. I dyed up some yarn to make a cardigan and just some other fingering weight yarns that I haven't completely decided what I'm going to knit with them yet, but I'm really excited about it. It's so nice to have like proper sweaters quantities of yarn in my stash so I can knit some of the many, many sweaters in my Ravelry pattern library. But anyway, I think that we're going to go ahead and end things here. If you stayed all the way through the video, thank you so much. I know this is very rambly and random and probably not terribly interesting, but I just wanted to sit down and chat. I feel like I I have always dreamed of having like a bosom friend, if you will, a best friend that I could just have over for tea and we could craft and talk about everything and nothing, and I don't have that. That hasn't happened yet. I'm gonna still keep hoping for it, but it hasn't happened yet. And so sometimes it's just nice to be able to sit down and just chat with you guys as my friends, as people that I want to talk to, people that I miss talking to. So yeah, if you stuck all the way through, thank you so much for listening and hanging out and whatnot. I'd love to talk with you in the comments. I hope that you're all doing well and that you're really enjoying this transitioning period between summer and fall time. I hope that if you are a fan of summer, that you're not too sad that it's going to be autumn, and if you are an autumn lover, I am so happy. You are probably like bouncing off the walls thrilled that it's autumn time. Anyway, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you as soon as I can on the next video. Bye.